Before we go any further, if you value serious, well-researched history that actually teaches usable skills, make sure you subscribe to the Legacy of Survival channel and share this video with others who care about preserving hard-earned knowledge. What we're about to cover is not nostalgia, not propaganda, and certainly not feel-good fluff. This is about a wartime food system so effective it fed millions under rationing, aerial bombardment and labour shortages, and it still outperforms many modern gardening methods today. What most people remember about Victory Gardens is the slogan. What almost no one studies is the master plan behind them. During the Second World War, civilian food production wasn't left to chance. It was engineered, documented, refined, and quietly abandoned once industrial agriculture took over. Yet buried in wartime manuals, agricultural bulletins, and prisoner-of-war camp records is a system of perpetual harvests designed to produce food continuously with minimal inputs. That's the real story, and it's one worth recovering. Why Victory Gardens were a strategic weapon, not a morale project. Victory Gardens emerged because global shipping lanes were collapsing and industrial agriculture couldn't respond quickly enough. In the United States, the effort was coordinated through agencies like Office of War Information, while in Britain the Dig for Victory campaign operated under strict agricultural planning. By 1944, over 20 million American gardens were producing roughly 40% of the nation's fresh vegetables. Britain, facing even harsher shortages, pushed urban and suburban gardens to near maximum efficiency. What made these gardens effective wasn't enthusiasm, it was design. Gardeners were instructed to grow calorie-dense crops, stagger planting dates, compost aggressively, save seed, and reuse waste streams. The goal wasn't a good harvest. It was uninterrupted production, from early spring to hard frost, year after year. You know, perpetual harvest thinking really shaped wartime garden layouts in a big way. Victory Garden manuals, they emphasized succession planting long before that term became fashionable. Instead of planting everything at once, gardeners were told to think in cycles. Fast-growing crops like lettuce, radishes and spinach went in first, harvested quickly, and then replaced by beans, carrots or beets. As those matured, cold-tolerant crops would follow. This meant that, well, the same plot of soil could produce 3 or even 4 harvests each season. The key was always timing and soil recovery. Compost just wasn't optional. Kitchen scraps, ash from stoves, and even shredded paper were all recycled into soil amendments. Gardeners were taught to feed the soil constantly so it could keep feeding crops without ever taking a break. Applied today, this really means abandoning the idea of a single annual planting. You start with greens as soon as the soil can be worked. The moment they're harvested, you replant with legumes. When those finish, you move into root vegetables or storage crops. The soil never sits idle and, well, neither does your food supply. Seed saving and localized resilience were central to the system. Commercial seed access was, well, pretty unreliable during the war. Victory gardeners were instructed to save seed from the strongest plants and trade locally. This wasn't hobbyism. It created regional strains adapted to local weather, pests, and soil conditions. Tomatoes grown in New England were not the same as those grown in California, even if they started as the same variety. Over just a few seasons, saved seed produced plants better suited to their environment. This practice quietly increased yields and reduced failure rates. Modern gardeners can apply this immediately. Just choose 1 or 2 reliable crops, let the healthiest plants go to seed, and store those seeds properly. Within a few seasons, your garden becomes more resilient without buying anything new. Wartime pest and soil management relied on observation, not chemicals. Chemical pesticides were, pretty scarce and often reserved for military use. Gardeners relied on crop rotation, physical barriers, and close observation. If pests appeared, they didn't just blanket the garden with poison. Instead, they removed affected plants, encouraged beneficial insects, and adjusted planting schedules. Soil exhaustion was addressed the same way. Crops were rotated deliberately. Leafy greens followed legumes. Heavy feeders, like cabbage, were planted where compost had been concentrated. This wasn't organic idealism, not at all. It was necessity-driven efficiency. To apply this now, stop treating your garden as static. Rotate crops annually. Pay attention to which plants thrive without intervention. Those are your foundation crops. It's remarkable how small spaces produced outsized yields during wartime. Urban Victory Gardens often measured less than 100 square feet, yet they managed to feed entire families. This was, achieved through dense planting, vertical supports, and, honestly, ruthless prioritization. No ornamental plants, no empty space at all. Every single square foot had a purpose. Beans climbed fences. Squash sprawled beneath corn. Herbs filled gaps between larger crops. This kind of intercropping reduced weeds, helped retain moisture, and, increased total output per area. Even today, this approach can double yields in limited space. Think vertically, stack functions, and grow food where, once upon a time, only decorative plants would have stood. Why this knowledge disappeared, and why it matters now. After the war, industrial agriculture promised abundance without effort. Victory Gardens were reframed as temporary sacrifices rather than strategic successes. Manuals were discarded, skills faded. Dependence replaced resilience. But the system still works. It works under stress, scarcity and disruption, the exact conditions it was designed for. Bringing the Victory Garden Master Plan back to life. Start small, but think long-term. Plan your garden as a continuous system, not a seasonal project. Focus on soil health, seed saving, and succession planting. Treat every harvest as preparation for the next one. This isn't reenactment, it's recovery. If this kind of deep, practical history matters to you, subscribe to Legacy of Survival, share this video with fellow historians and survivalists, and help keep this knowledge alive.